The set Teton Homes, Caspa, Wyoming. Oh, is this a big one too? Oh, look at his shoulder all squirreled over. That is seen better days. I wonder if it's the shoulder or just this roofing. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, you can just see the roofing isn't put on well. So we're going to find out. A lot of times we can't salvage these shoulders because by the time we try to take them off, there's so many staples in it, it just boogers it up so bad you can't get it to lay flat. It looks terrible. But of course, you know, I like to try to save them if I can. It's just, one, we can obviously put them on and it saves customers some money because I have to fabricate them if they're that bad. So we're going to see when we take them off. But you can see right here, this is your typical RV roof, right? Put more on, look at all this stuff. I mean, they just want you to keep putting it on there, but you can see all the fracturing in there. That's what they want you to just keep widening some more on there. This particular turn bar goes down, and that's what this is a turn bar. I think they call it metal end cap or something in the RV industry. I don't know. In the commercial end, it's called turn bar because it terminates the roof. So anyhow, this one goes down, and then this is a cap over type. It snaps over this instead of an insert on some of the other ones that have inserts, right? So more than likely we'll replace this because typically what happens when we try to take these off, the insert or the cap over one that generally gets so much caulking and everything on it, to try to clean it up it's just futile. It takes more time to do it than it's just a pain in the butt. So we generally don't put them back on, you know. And again, we'll see. But you can see how much crud is on it, like on this one, because it looks like it's cracked right here. So, but you can see all that cracking. And then this is another issue. You got water going in here, and this is a pretty common problem with these, is the way they seal these. And these ladders move. See, so I can tell right off the rip that there's up inside here is a star nut. And I'll guarantee that that's all rusty. So we'll take this ladder off, and then we'll inspect the whole ladder, make sure all the rungs, everything on here, that that is at least tight. We try to do that. I don't know, maybe we'll replace, if these screws are just surface rust, we just try to clean them up a little bit. But otherwise, I just want to make sure it's safe so someone can climb up here. So if you have one of these, this one looks like it's been sealed up inside here. That one does, but a lot of times they don't. There's a screw here. There's a screw here, and there's a screw here. So, I mean, when we get rid of all this, you won't have all that nonsense. I'll make a special boot for it. But if you have one of these, what I'm pointing out, check up underneath here and make sure they're sealed, because if not, water will just come up here and it'll get down into that screw, and then it'll start rotting that whole area out. So, look at all the debris right here. See it? All that pollen and just you know, dust, whatever. Well, what happens is it gets into the gasket. There's a gasket up underneath here, and when that gets up into the gasket, it dries it out, and then that's how you get leaks. But they're going to be small leaks. It's not going to be like a flood. It's just going to be small, and then eventually the air conditioner will settle down into the roof, and you get like this belly because the sheathing it was all rotted. Trusses get rotted. Everything gets rotted, and it just starts sagging in there. So that's why we put them up on a curb. That's another reason to put them up on a curb, because then it's all set. You don't have to worry about it. You can get up here with a pressure washer on our system and you can wash it down. So here's another. But you can see how that's all fracturing. See it? And the reason why this all fractures is because this is just an inferior product. It doesn't have any properties built into it to kind of reflect UV light. So the UV light hits it and starts fracturing it out, and you get this. You're going to just get small little, what I call chronic leaks, condensation, just moisture. Moisture will eventually, if you get moisture in there, especially during certain seasons like the winter, moisture gets in there and it freezes, then it's going to turn to ice, which expands and open that gap up, and then so on and so forth, and then you start having other issues. But this self-leveling stuff that they use is just junk. It's all junk. Dycore, all of it. I know there's a couple other brands out there. Dycore's pretty common out there, but like I said, they're all junk. They know it fails. Why do they keep using it? Because it's their cash cow. That's how they make their money. And they keep exploiting people's ignorance to roof systems and telling them this is the way they're supposed to do it, and it's wrong. That's not how you do a roof. All these roofs are the same. So it's not like if you say, hey, I'm going to go get a better you know, a more expensive coach, she'll give me a great roof, or it's got a fiberglass roof. It doesn't matter the roof system. If it's not up on curbs, if you don't have any boots for these, it's going to leak. That's just the way a flat roof functions. It has to be up on curbs. So you could go to go on the internet and do an image search for commercial flat roof. Okay, commercial flat roof images, and you'll see the vents. You'll see, you know, these plumbing, and you'll see these things either in a boot or you'll see them on a curb. That's just the way they function. So you just don't, you know, slobber more on, especially around, like, and I'll see if I'll work my way around there and show you that skylight, because the more you put on there, you just keep building it up. Now you got a moat in there. So the problem with that is, depending on, especially like around your vents, if you've got especially a metal vent, but what happens is when the water just sits there and doesn't evaporate out and the sun sits on it, now that turns into a magnifying glass. Well, now that amplifies all of the UV rays, and now you're going to have other breakdown on, like, the vent. They get crumbly, you know, brittle. So I already explained about these. If you have one of these antennas, this is coming off. But if you do, so water will run down here. Somebody sealed the top of this boot, which is pretty good. That seems like it's on there. But sometimes if it's not sealed that well, then, and this is obviously dry right here, you can see at the bottom. You can see the bottom there is dry. But you want to load that with some caulking, because if you don't, it'll just come on down and it'll leak in there. Don't use silicone, because this is rubber. Silicone doesn't stick to rubber. Silicone won't stick to anything on this roof, in fact. So I'm not a proponent of silicone. There's certain areas I use it in, but I don't even want to go into that. That's another topic. The stuff even that I use is all commercial grade, commercial industrial grade. It's not the same stuff you're going to pull out the shelf off of your local hardware store. So again, see how this is all, there's so much junk on there, I probably can't salvage that. But you can see how brittle this is, all already broken apart like that. So again, they'd say, hey, put some more on. How many times are you going to keep slobbering it? So like right in here, that's what I'm looking at right in here. You know, you want to make sure all that stuff is sealed if you have one. So now we can walk around the other side. Hey, I'm doing a video here. Zach works here. Now you know. So again, same thing right here. Look at how much they put on there. Just keep slobbering and slobbering and slobbering it on. Look at this here. That's quite a bit right there. And again, there's all cracked, all rusty screws right here. Rusty screws. See, got water coming in over there. So I'm hoping that, you know, maybe we got lucky and it didn't leak in there. You know, but either way, we're going to take the whole deck. We're going to take that up, and we're going to see what's up underneath it. Let me see if I had something to open this up with. There we go. So that's what I'm talking about down inside here. That's where you want to make sure it's sealed, because you will get water in there. Okay. So on ours, I seal all these. You'll have a boot and everything. It'll be all sealed up. And if the cap did pop off, all that water would just go into the holding tank. The way this is, water's going to get down inside here, and then when it gets down in there, it'll start traveling in the coach. So we're going to put that up on another base. So we'll get that squared away. We'll take care of this. We'll put that in a boot. We'll probably move those wires over there. I don't know if it works. He says it does. We're just going to remount it. So, but more rusty screws. Look at that big gap in there. I mean, something has got to have gotten in there. How much, I don't know. But so there's our Teton, or Teton, or however they pronounce it. More crack in here. So anyhow, that's what we got. Let's open this up. And you know, for the size of this thing, I'm looking at it, and it's got one vent right there and one vent right here. That's it. Just the two vents for as big as this is. That's usually there's like 5 or 6 of them. Like this one over here, it's got quite a few on there. That's a lot smaller, and it's got I think 2 on that one across there on the other bay. We're getting to that one too. So then we got a crack up here in the cover. That gets real brittle as well. I don't know if I have a cover for that, or if the customer just wants to order one. you know, we're not really a supply house. We don't have all this stuff. Anything I need, I have to try to search for it myself. So sometimes it's just as easy to have the customer, you know, select one or get one, or, you know, some don't mind doing that. So we'll, like you said, we'll check around on that as well. So otherwise, well, here's our, let's see. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, that looks kind of old. Somebody already cut that. The roofing itself doesn't feel terrible. It's still, most of the time we find is not necessarily the roofing material fail. What we find is the leaks start coming from all your protrusions. Anything that they cut and mount to the roof. That's generally where we find our leaks. That's why I say if you had this thing, you're gonna, you know, a whole fiberglass roof, I've had to take those off and redo them. The spray-on systems, they don't work. If they did, I'd buy it. I'd buy the machine. When I did commercial work, I had plenty of machines and sprayers, and I had roll formers that made, you know, stand and seam metal. So I had all that. But I put TPO on here, commercial grade TPO, because pound for pound, dollar for dollar, it's the it's a better fit for a coach. Like I said, the spray-ons don't solve your problem. You still have everything mounted to the roof. That one dull light. But you still have everything mounted to the roof, which is gonna still leak. You know, you have to have, you know, you have to have all that. Oh, there's no shoulder there. That's just foam. That's just foam. So, yep, we need to make shoulders. That's why it's all squirrely like that. That's just cardboard on here. Yeah, that's just cardboard. Wow. I don't know anything about Tetons or what they're supposed to be like. Certain ones, they tote themselves to be a super duper coach, you know, better built and all this stuff. I'm doing this for many years on these coaches, and honestly, I find them all to be the same. But that's just cardboard. That's all that is. Okay, there's your insulation right there. It goes back in. All right, so we got to make shoulders. So we'll kind of investigate all this to see what's going on underneath. That's what we do. Tear up the decking. Got OSB on there. But why do I have water here? I mean, that's rusty, so that means there's moisture getting in there. That's kind of concerning to me, that something is weeped or got in somewhere. That shouldn't be rusty if it's being protected by the roofing, right? Shouldn't be. So yep, this is kind of odd. Okay, ooh, there's something down here. We'll show you more when we open it up, but I just want to give you an overview of what we got on the roof, and you'll see when we start taking it apart what we got going on, or redeck it and all that stuff. So stay tuned. Okay, so I just wanted to show some of this awning is all ripped up. It's all destroyed right there. You can see it's all cracked right here. So, this whole thing is just a mess. I don't know what the other ones look like. That's that one anyways. So this is on the driver's side. These ones here, you got a good split right there. You can see all that dryness in there. Slow down so it picks some of it up. You can see some of the stitching coming out. Check out this one while we're here. Yeah, this one's the same way. You see the stitching there. That's the stitching that's starting to come loose, those little tiny holes. And then down this other side. Get that out there. Alright. Well, those are my notes. All the rusty screws. Alright, so we got the roofing up, and then we got some stray wires in here. They're not, these yellow ones don't hook up to anything. So we're going to tape those off and put dead on there. And sometimes you run into it. I don't know what they go to, but we just mark everything. You see we got tape everywhere. If they're even on here, what they go to and so forth. So that's what we're doing. The other thing I noticed on this is very bizarre. I've been doing these things for a long time. And this is one sheet. I am looking for a break. That may be a break. Oh, it looks more like a scar from us cutting the roof. That's what that is. Ah, here it is. Here's a break. So this sheet is going all the way down here. I've never seen an 8-foot by... Where's the other end of this thing? Really? Wow. That is one enormous sheet right there. It's got to be about 20 feet or so. Maybe even better. I've never seen a sheet of plywood that big. So, but anyhow, they got one. So somebody made it. But, so you got one sheet all the way down there, all the way. And this coach is, I believe, 33. So, and then we have obviously the balance. So my concern is I can see we got plywood trusses here. I don't know what else it's secured to, which I'm going to have to figure out once we open it. But that'll give us something to stew on, I guess. That's what we'll check out. I don't know if they've got these. Looks like a rib right here. I don't know if they have them running all the way down, but like you said, we'll find out when we take the decking up, and we'll figure out what's wrong with it. All right, let's get down and take a look at this other air unit we're starting to take off. So we got these wires hanging out right there. We don't know what they go to. And then this wasn't hooked up either, so it's just hanging, but it does plug into there. But so mark these ones, mark them if they're not hooked up to anything, put some tape on them dead, and then we'll just break free whatever we need to and mark all those, and then we pop the AC off, and that'll be that. And these ones mount down to the roof, so we're going to make a special mount when we do our curbs. So then it'll bolt from the top, but it'll have machine threads in it, where if you had to change the unit out, they don't really have to argue it. The only thing they'd have to do is try to get the pattern right to make sure they can bolt it on, but otherwise you could still bolt it down. Or if they just had to service this one, they could unbolt it and rebolt it back on. Because right now they just screwed right to the roof. That's what these foam pieces are. You can probably see a little better down this one. That's their way of sealing an air conditioner, is just they put these foam pieces in there to try to bolt it down, and they just leak. That's just not the way you do it. So they just leak in there. All right, we have got the roof off. We've got it removed, and this is the way they framed it. I've been doing these a lot of years, never seen a frame system like this. So they've got plywood trusses. What are they saying? There it is. That looked like it was kind of zoomed in. But it's all plywood trusses. Then they made a notch in here, and they ran this rail all the way down. That's how they were able to put it on. There's a rail here. So we got a rail here, got a rail. You can see them, okay? So our plywood's got to go this way. So we'll end up running it that way. And then when we do, we're going to put some supports in there. So the plywood, so you won't have a pucker when you walk on it. So that's the plan. And we shall see how that plan goes. But it's a pretty common feature. They're called ply clips. That should work. The ply clips should be able to hold it together, and when we get them, I'll show you how we put it together. But when you do trusses on big commercial projects, those trusses are like 2 foot apart, or the rafters would be, but the whole truss assembly, when they build them, they're like 2 foot apart, and that's a big span for the plywood. So typically, where the next sheet would go up on those projects, the plywood goes differently. So we can go side to side this way. We go horizontal like you would see on a regular house being built. But you'd still have that 2 foot gap in there that would have a slight bounce to it. And you put these little clips in between them, and then what that does is it actually transfers some of the weight to the other sheet. So it keeps both of them kind of together. I'll show you how they work. I'll show you. Don't you worry. But we still got to obviously clean this thing up and then check all our trunk lines. That's a foam trunk line, so I don't think we're going to have any trouble with that. And then I just want to see how the wiring is, and I can locate that. And we'll take all of this insulation out and check everything. That'll be in itself a little bit of work. And like you said, check it, see where all our wires are going. I know we got to replace communication wire right here. That's all frayed. The customer bought a new one. So we're going to see if we can find out where that is. Down in here somewhere. Wherever she travels, we'll look for it. But that's what we got so far. So unusual. Like I said, I've never seen one of these type of frame systems on here. But we'll clean all that, and it looks like they did glue it down, so I like that part. They glued it down, so we'll clean all this up, and then we'll redeck it. All right, now we're putting in all the insulation, getting it all back. We cleaned it up the best we could, anyways. You know, some of this, they glued it down. That's awesome. This is one of the very few that we ever get in here that have ever been glued down. So we chamfered it down so it'll sit smooth, or fairly smooth. And there's a couple of dips in the trusses as we go along. It's not going to be anything you look at and go, holy cow, the thing's doing crazy. It's not going to do all that. So, all right, so we get that. Now what we're doing is we got a duct system that we built. It's going to go over here to ventilate the curb. That's what it's going to do. Out there. All right, so we have got some of this glued down. Still got a piece to put in here. You can see we got all the glue on there and there. We're stapling it all down, so we should be good. So I was going to put a piece in here to kind of support that, but I don't think it needs it. It doesn't seem to need it. There was a ply clip I was telling you about, but I don't think it needs it. But anyhow, that's what we got it all stapled down. You see all the glue we used. So then the other thing that we had is right here. See how far that comes out? So we got to build this out so our shoulder will come and land nice. If not, you'll have a pucker in here. That's built out quite a bit. They did a lot of stuffing in there, so that's what we have to do. So we got some rips, and they used wood. Now that's not very smart, because obviously it's going to rot, and that's what happened. That maybe have contributed to all of this. So what we're using is we're going to use PVC. That's what we got right here, just PVC planking. So we won't have a problem with that. And once we get that, we'll get it glued on, fastened on. It's be all set. So we still got another piece. That's what we're doing right here. Putting some glue on there. We're going to staple her down. So on this is the driver's side back corner. Then we have this was the gutter spout, which we're going to have to omit that. So they put some sort of shim on here, which wasn't, it just wasn't smart. But anyhow, this is the original gutter. And here's our concern, is that you can see how it comes down, then it goes out, comes down and goes out. And you put a screw there, what's going to happen is it's going to caulk the gutter. It won't sit flush. That's why they put that little shim in there, I guess. But it was just so small, it was cardboard. And then it got all ruined and everything. You can see some of it even leaked in here. Got a little bit of slight delam going on right here. So we're going to probably omit this gutter and put our gutter on there. You can see how small that track is. So the type of trim cover they have, it snaps over this. But you don't have much of a width there to put the screw in. And like I said, it's not flat. It's got that little ledge there. So every time you put a screw in, it's going to want to roll. So we would have to try to sliver down something, but then when you sliver down something, you obviously risk splitting it. Even if it's plastic, it's still gonna, it's just not gonna seat right. It's just not gonna seat right. So we're gonna omit this and probably put some other gutter on to make it cleaner and make it come together right. Because it just doesn't make sense. So they do have a little bridge here. You see how that's built out quite a bit. So we're going to put ours here, we'll terminate it, then the gutter will come out, and then our other piece will come down and marry to this so we can make it look clean. That's about all we can do after we we got new shoulders going on. Alright, check out our Teton Homes roof. We got some new shoulders on here. I've already got this other side over here, this driver's side, we already have that glued. And this is the same thing, so no sense in showing you twice. But all this roofing, all the decking come out awesome. All the joints laid out nice. So we didn't even need to put any strips, and that's usually why I put it down, glued. I already showed you we glued and stapled it all down. So now, this is a contact cement. And like some of the RV industry, they just use a glue on there on the deck, and they don't put it on the sheathing, on the sheet of the material, right? They just put it on there and they roll it over. This is a contact cement. Once that stuff grabs, that's the end of it. It's there. It'll grab. You're not pulling it up. It is really, really, really hard to. So you gotta be careful when you roll it over. That's for sure. But if you did, more than likely you'd have to try to cut the whole thing up and try to junk it if you got a big bubble in it. But anyhow, it's ready to roll. We've just put some tape on there to kind of help the seams. And other than that, it's ready to go. We got to put new gutters on here. I think I already addressed all that gutter nonsense. So otherwise, let's get this thing rolled out, and then we start cutting the holes for the curbs and everything, and get everything started assembled and put it back together. All right, so now we take the big roller, and we roll and roll and roll. Boy, that loud. I need some oil. Sound like the Tin Man off the Wizard of Oz. Oil! Oil! We go back and forth. That's a 110-pound roller. So it'll we'll get it nice and tight. That's the way the manufacturer recommends to install the roof. They know best. They designed it. Alright, so we thought we were pretty much all done. This is one of the screws that we just pulled out of this. This whole thing is all rotted. You can see all that. All rotted. So we gotta do a slide out floor. The whole thing, you can see all the cracking and everything in it. It's all failed. You can see, you know, that massive punch right there. That Mike Tyson punch right there. Just dented the wood. That's right. If I wasn't an RV guy, I'd be a pro boxer, you know, maybe MMA. So, yep, it's all right there. All right, so this is the floor. We got it out. You can see how it's all rotted right here. You actually see, I mean, that's just gone. So, and they built this up. There's some brackets that run in there, I guess, to help it glide. But this is an unusual one. I haven't come across one of these like this. So we'll just mock this right back up, make a new piece for it, and put it back in. But boy, they stapled the bejesus out of it. There's a carpet that was on there. But the carpet was pretty wore out, so we may have to get another piece of carpet to put on there. And then, like I said, redo all this. That's just foam. That's all that is. So, all right, now we got our new platform in. And we put a new piece of Phylon on there. Instead of that garbage they had on the bottom. I think they just had some plastic, like underlayment wrap on there. So we've got that all in. I don't know if you can see the new piece in there. We go around and take a look, maybe. You get all these pads in here. I'll make sure we don't get any coaches all filthied up. And then we put the carpet back on. So we are ready to get the platform back in. We're going to be about ready for it. Well, we are all done with our Teton homes. We already got the slide out all put together. We showed you that. And then everything here is all heat welded. This is a 60 mil commercial grade roof. That's a you'll see this product on a hospital, a library, an office building. So first off, I want to thank the customer for bringing the coach here. We really appreciate the work. And that's why we take the time to address all the problems, make sure everything is done correctly. We don't want someone traveling all this way and then send them back with the same problems they're going to get from some other RV center. We don't do that type of work. This is an upgraded roof, and we want to address all the issues to it. So I'll go over some of them that we've already done, like these boots right here. Everything is all custom made. I'll make all of these components, all the curbs, the boots, everything for the roof system. Even fabricated the shoulder. We fabricated everything. So I want to make, then I know what it needs and I can custom fit it all. But these boots, we put these on here. If you remember earlier, they had just had this squashed to the roof where the plate was underneath it, and they swabbered it with that self-leveling. That's what they do. So that's just not a good way to seal it, because that's how you get all the water to get in there, especially when these things move. They move around a lot when you're trying to climb up and down them. So, you know, that being said, obviously that's a much better system. This is a special sealer, and it stays real flexible. So the air conditioner, you see we got these couple of stands on the back, and then what I did is they bolted this right to the roof. I showed you that, and I'm not a proponent for that. Some of the other ones I designed a little differently, but they were still usable. in the sense like if somebody were to take an air conditioner off and have to replace it, that's what I look for. I don't want anybody really have a struggle with it. But anyhow, on this one, we did pretty much the same thing that they did. However, we could put these special boots on here with the bolts coming up, and then we just bolted it right down to it. And they got lock bolts on the bottom as well, lock nuts rather, and that's all galvanized. So now if somebody does decide they want to replace the AC, they just pop these off, and then they can just drill it. Hopefully the new unit will have holes in it, and if it doesn't, they can just drill some holes and then bolt it back down. It's not gonna, typically the way they do it, when they put it down and they put those big lag bolts in there, eventually it just starts stripping out the plywood. That just doesn't make sense. So that's why we put these on here. And some of the other ones I've done from the inside, where you would have to take the cover off, and then you can see my bolts from there. Not just this cover, but there's another cover inside there, and you can see where I put the bolts, and you can take those out. And those went inside the curb. Those are a little different. I think this is a little easier for some folks, so that's why I just changed it up a little bit. But you can see we have the counter flash in the front, and what that counter flash does is it pushes the water that's typically coming down up underneath. There's a foam gasket. So if we did not have that, the water would trickle down, the wind would be blowing that water back into that foam gasket. So we don't want to have that. There's a flashing is on the bottom of the curb, and then on the top is what's called counter flashing. And that's also called counter flashing. So this counter flash from the AC goes over or beyond the counter flash that's underneath on the curb. So it pushes the water down, so it has to go down and around, and it won't flow back up underneath this, the bottom of the pan. So on the edge here, we've got this is sealed and glued and adhered. This gutter is glued and adhered to the coach, obviously screwed in as well. So if you were to, and I like this insert trim, I'll probably show you another piece, but up underneath here, see if I can get this to break loose a little bit. It's got a little track in it, and it's not overly difficult. There we go. But every one of these screws are all sealed. They're all sealed. Every one of those screws, there's a ring of caulking around every one of them. But you can see our little track right there, that little track, that fits into this part is a little track here, a little reveal profile. That fits in this groove right here. So you got this part of the gasket is up in the inside, and then the other part of this is on the outside. So I like the way it seals out much better than the typical that they just throw in here. I think on here they had a gutter on here that was just kind of awkward, and we had to change that because of the way it would come to the end. It just wasn't making sense. So we changed it up. They had the cardboard, I believe, right here, and that was just going to get water back up underneath it. All of it was all moisture riddled and everything. So we put new gutters on it. It'll sit better. And then we were able to put our track back in that. So then we also obviously put some spouts. Let's kick the water away from the coach, get that off of the, so it doesn't run down the side. And so the caulking on here, once we put the adhesive behind this and we glue it on there, put our screws in, it may burp up, so we strike it down. Then we wait for it to cure out, and we put one strike on there. Then when that cures, we put yet another strike on it. So we put 2 strikes of caulking on the top, because if you've ever run a caulking gun and you start squeezing that tube, you can hear it pop and crackle. You just injected an air bubble. And these things move and they twist and flex a lot. And if that air bubble breaches, now you potentially have a leak. So my thought is, what are the chances of having one air bubble land on top of another? Probably slim to none. So that's why we do that. Put new bolts in here on the awning, and then we put the satellite back on, and we put it in some loom over there, and obviously that goes down and wire it back up. He had a new wire, and we just put the drop for the wire in there because we don't know how it actually goes back together. But we just found a chase wall down there, a cavity where the other one went, and kind of put it there. So the bolts right here, we've got holding on there. Those are stands that we made, those special boots. And it's looking like I got a low battery, so if this goes off, there may be a quick pause here. Antenna, same way. Got bolts coming up for these standoffs here, all galvanized. You can just unscrew those and bolt it back on. We got our skylight over there. This one here is an intake. We put a ventilation system. That's a solar fan So on the inside you have your inner lens, then you got an outer lens. When the condensation gets, or the moisture, the frost gets on the top, the sun comes up, evaporates it off. When it evaporates that off, what's up underneath it is going to condensate, and it starts drooling down into the roof deck or into the ceiling, and we want to prevent that. So this is a solar fan. So when the sun comes up to evaporate what's on the top, it'll start working. My battery did die. And it'll, so I had to go get another one. There's a mounting bolts for the AC. So I know I left off over here on the skylight. So what I was saying is that when the frost or dew is on the top, it's also on the underside of this lens. And when the sun comes up, it'll evaporate this off, but what's on the other side doesn't get evaporated. It just basically condensates. And then it'll just start to drool and follow the profile of the skylight. And it could get into the roof deck, or it could get into the ceiling, you know. So what we did is I designed these ventilation system. So this is an air duct, and all it does is go up underneath, and it fits. It goes to in between the two lenses, so you get your inner lens and you get this outer lens. So the trough goes through there. When the sun comes up to evaporate this off, that kicks on, draws the air up, down, and out, and it'll stay on as long as it, you know, as long as the sun's up. So I mean, we can't warranty that. That's just an aftermarket thing that we buy, but we like to check them. You know, when they come back for inspections, we like to check them to make sure they're still working. But that being said, if this cap does pop off, take this plumbing cap, or that plumbing cap, or any other plumbing cap, and put it on there, because that is it's just a cavity, so it will leak. You'll get water in there, which will come right into your shower, into there. Okay, so just rub this one out. This one, if you take this one off and put it on there, they got these little springs on there. But if you do, and you don't have one on here, any water is going right into a holding tank. It can't leak anywhere. It can't go anywhere. It's all sealed. It's all sealed all the way down in here from the inside. So make sure you do that, if in fact that does pop off. Now what we also did in here is inside there, you barely see this little bit of, let's see if I can show you that little bit up underneath there. See that little black, looks like a little black piece of perforated foam? We put that in there to keep the bees out. We don't want bees getting up in here and making a nest, or hornets, wasps, whatever. So that's why we put that in there. So if that does pop off, and then you also notice that you don't have that in there, you want to put another piece in. It's just basically it's a gutter filter that you can buy at Home Depot, and you put it in your gutter, and it basically keeps the twigs and leaves and everything from getting in. That's all it is. They're just black. They look kind of like on a triangle like look, you know. So, and then all of this is all heat welded, every bit of it. And there's your counter flash, which is what I was talking about. That counter flash on the AC, that goes down below this to wash the water out. So now as you get some heavy rain moving across, you minimize an erosion effect. That's how this all works. That's why it's like this on a commercial roof. So now the water will be coming around. Even if it was a hard driving rain, it's going to come up here and it's going to get redirected out. So that's the whole design of it. So I made these, my background is commercial roofs, structurality, general contractor by trade. And what I did is just designed all this to form and function properly for an RV. You know, you can't buy these. We don't, and in fact, we don't sell anything either. So I have to fabricate everything for every individual piece that we put on, for like the air conditioners, even those boots like we got here to bolt those down, all those boots, plumbing boots, different size curbs. I've done one for satellite dishes, so on and so forth. So again, the roof system is real. The roof system is a 60 mil commercial grade TPO. TPO stands for thermoplastic, and that's why we're able to weld everything together. It's a great roof system. This is a piece of it right here. It is pretty thick product, but it also is a structured membrane. You can probably see those little squares in there. There's a weave that's built into it, and you can probably see a little bit of those weaves right there on my finger. And they're designed in there so to resist against hail and tree branches and things like that. If you did get a tree branch hit this roof or something punctured it, you can easily patch this roof. You don't have to strip the whole thing off and redo it. We can put a hot patch on it. So we leave folks with a care package, so they're able to do a quick patch even in the rain. I leave them with some stuff that works in the rain, So this way they can make sure they mitigate any damage at all. Tree branch hit it, let's get up there, seal it, and then there's a pouch kit in there, and then they can bring it back to us, or we also leave some material if they decide to want to bring it to like a commercial roofer. You can do that as well if you want to drag it to their shop and say, hey, can you weld that patch on? We leave it with the proper material. Not all TPO is the same, so just keep that in mind. Not all TPO is the same. So they will need a new cover. Cover is cracked, so you know, some of these, they just get all dry and brittle, so they need, that one needs to be replaced. Otherwise, and then we also did the slide out. We showed you all of that, and we also put in new fabric for the awnings. We got all that, these awnings here and that other one on the other side. So we are all set. The warranty, the way the warranty works, and it works like this on all roof systems, on all material. So they will say it has a warranty of 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever. That means for the material. They don't know who's installing it, so they don't give a labor warranty. So we tell folks to bring it back. I like to see them up 30 days, and I'll even say 60 days at max. Bring it back. Let me do what I call an initial inspection. These things rack and twist and flex a lot. I want to make sure we address all the problems that this coach has, and if it needs adjustments, we're glad to do them. And then you come back once a year. So you come back the following year, I'm going to renew it for another year. You come back that year, I renew it yet for another year. The maintenance on this is real simple. Just wash it with some dish soap and a little scrub brush, or if you really want to get up here with a pressure washer, you could pressure wash it. They're pretty rugged roof systems. So, or you bring it through a truck wash and tell them to jump up there and spray and wash it down, scrub it down. But they're real easy maintenance to take care of. It's not that hard. You don't have to put a coating on them. This doesn't need a coating, just leave it alone. And you don't need to put it under cover. You don't have to store it in, you know, some folks have carports in a sense, you know, camper ports, if you will, that they put them under. You can if you want, but it won't matter to this roof system because these are designed to be outside in the elements, just like a commercial building is. You know, you don't get those up underneath an umbrella somehow, right? And it's the same exact material. I go and buy it from a supply house. So this isn't RV grade anything. Nothing we do here is RV grade, none of it. So there's also, these aren't DIY videos. If you got a tip out of it or learned a trick, hey, that's awesome. But there's a lot of stuff we do behind the scenes that I could not videotape all of that. And also I don't sell anything at all. So I don't sell the curbs, I don't sell material, I don't sell the insert trim, I don't sell anything at all. It's just not our wheelhouse. And like I said, if you got some tips out of it, great, but again, they're just not geared for that. And you know, sometimes I get some comments, some questions and things. And some of the questions that I get, people say they've done these things before and they're asking me things that if you've done it before, you should already know. But then that turns into another question, and then another question, and another question. And next thing you know, I'm like trying to correspond back and forth, and honestly, it just takes up a lot of time to do it. So it's not that I'm too good for anybody. It's just, it's time. It's just a time factor. I'd be responding to a whole bunch of emails and, you know, comments and so forth. And like I said, we appreciate y'all watching. If you give it a thumbs up or something, from what I understand, if somebody's looking for a roof system or whatever, then I guess this pops up. I don't know. We don't go through all that. Any of the commercials that are on here, that's not us, that's YouTube. They said if we don't monetize it, they're going to monetize it. So we have no control over that either. Welcome to the world of YouTube. But we try to put these together for the customers so they can see all the work we did for them. They have a lot of questions. What'd you find? What'd you do? How'd you fix it? So now you just watch the video. So again, we appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next thing. Is if you want a sample, if you want one of these, just let us know. You can call us right there, 423-475-7663, or if you go to rvroofinstall.com, you can contact us through there as well, and you give us your name, address, and so forth, and we'll send you out a piece of this if you're curious and you've got a coach that you're maybe interested in doing. And then we'll also send you a piece of roofing that is typical on an RV, just the stuff that they use, so you can compare it. And but let us know if you decide.
Package. So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch, peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, and we'll simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through, and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof. It's leaking. So what you want to do? And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. Just squeeze, squeeze. You want to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Put some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about, man? Nope, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. I can get the fat fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggum thing off of there. Probably use some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. There it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up like this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can, and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. If it doesn't all sit in there, you can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we got that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing. The caulking will not stick to this patch, and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.